If you want to support our podcast financially, please visit patreon.com/IIMBSB. Also, email us with questions or ideas at imaypodcast@gmail.com. All right, today we check in with each other about how childhood wounds are showing up in our relationship. And Justin shares a huge realization she had at a party.
And we'll also be visiting our favorite couples on Temptation Island. Let's go. Welcome to If I May Be So Bold,
a podcast about relationships. I'm Dan Epstein, recording artist, Enneagram 4, and ADHD DJ.
I'm Justin Waring Crane, model, actress, singer, dancer, mathematician. I solved another equation yesterday.
Was it a big one or a little one?
It was a really big one. I like that we're just going to continue to check in like on my journey.
On your maths journey?
Yeah. So do you want to hear about my breakthrough?
Yeah.
You were there.
Yeah, I think before you share that, I just want to say it's uncomfortable for me, like recording the podcast in periods of like internal turmoil. Like I think we talked about once on our first season, just like it's way easier to be like, I was struggling so much and now like I'm fine, you know. Just want to kind of reintroduce that idea because I'm on a journey here.
Yeah.
I just I'm feeling like daunted by my own fears. You know, like my own like fearful thoughts that come up. I'm having like moments where they come up and I'm like, oh fuck, you know, and it's not so easy for me in this moment to just be like, oh, okay, I know what that is. And like allow it to come in and just like be there for whatever reason right now. It's challenging.
I have a really hard time with that.
Yeah.
When feelings are coming up and I'm not sure why or what they mean, it really adds to the stress of it. It can make an unpleasant experience almost unbearable.
Jonna, my therapist, yesterday, I was talking about you and she said, she's a really good teacher for you in terms of like how I'm being challenged by myself in being with you.
Yeah. I'm a teacher.
And like my inner teenager, which is terms from ACA, the 12-step program, I think is just like running wild right now. Is just like in full fucking like
rebellion,
blasting music in my room.
Yeah.
Don't want to be an American idiot. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was like 44 when that song came out.
Yeah, your inner teenager is really active right now, and that's good. That's really good. But maybe it doesn't feel good because you didn't really get to be a teen. You didn't really get to be like an angsty.
No.
And I didn't really. I actually kind of did. I did. I was really bitchy actually, towards my parents, especially my mom. So that's important to have that time where you're just so pushing away. Like that's such an important phase of development that teenagers go through where you're basically like, fuck you, parents. And that's how you start to really differentiate. And that's what part of your work is right now, is differentiating from your family.
Yeah.
And that's the teenager is going to help you do that.
Yeah. And I think in the past, I've kind of been like, I understand ways in which I try and like escape and distract myself and numb myself. And like, I understand that, like I should be careful about that, but like, it's part of life, you know? And now I'm in a place where I'm like, it's not going to work. Like, I have to like, take these things on and like really slow down and like not turn away from, I was crying in the car today. From the Caroline Polachek song, Look at Me Now.
Such an amazing
when she's
song.
Like, I can't run anymore.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stay right here and face the storm. I was like,
yeah. I mean, what an incredible part of the song. I don't know what that is, if it's like a post chorus or like a bridge or some sort, but it's so fucking good.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, no one should ever make another song.
That song is unreal.
I know.
Also, I have no idea I'm like a master's in music, and I couldn't figure out I just like couldn't figure out what tempo or what meter it's in.
I think it's like 7/8 or something bizarre.
Yeah,
or
maybe
like
it's
maybe
something that's right. I didn't try that one.
I think it's pretty unconventional. So God, and this weekend I think was really transformative for us, and something that we were talking about at this party that we were at that really tore me a new asshole was that you can't escape yourself. And
that was coming up for you at the party?
Well, that's part of it, is like we were talking about how you can't escape yourself. But the bad thing is, it's like, that's not the bad news. The bad news is that daily life makes it possible to think that you can escape yourself. Yeah. So if it was more clear how impossible it really is, I think there'd be a lot less suffering.
Right. Yeah.
You can't escape it. So, but every time I realize that, I'm like, okay, I can't escape it. Wow, fuck.
Yeah.
This is sad and also now very freeing. Then immediately I'm like, there's gotta be a way. You know, like I then start looking for the new way that I haven't thought of to try to numb or escape or just find like a loophole.
Yeah.
And to really find, it's not a life hack, it's like a hack for life, like a hack for like escaping like the reality of life.
Well, I mean, yeah, and I haven't like started the steps of 12-step ACA, which I've been going to meetings to.
Just another for people who maybe haven't listened before. ACA.
And many people don't.
And many people don't know what this is. I couldn't believe me of all people, not knowing what ACA is. It stands for Adult Children of Alcoholics and Dysfunctional Families. So it's a 12-step program. And I was always like, yeah, Al-Anon's not my 12-step. Sex and Love Addicts, not my 12-step. But this one would be.
Yeah, you kind of thought there wasn't really one.
I was like,
you.
I guess there's not a 12-step.
Exactly.
For me. Yeah.
But you know, like all 12 steps, they're all kind of modeled after AA to some degree. Like the idea of admitting you're powerless against the things that you kind of, you know, you didn't create in yourself, but you are experiencing.
Yeah. So admitting powerlessness is part of the wisdom of no escape.
Exactly. And what you're talking about. Yeah. Which is kind of the opposite of Temptation Island.
Perfect segue.
Well, no, you didn't say your realization.
Okay, my breakthrough. Yet. So, okay, let's rewind to 2019. I had just gone through, or was just about to go through, and I think my body knew.
I met you shortly after this.
Yeah, my body sensed that I was about to go through a pretty traumatic breakup.
Can you remember a specific moment?
that I felt
that you started sensing it for like really sensing it?
Yeah, I was driving on the freeway. I was on the 110.
North, south?
North.
Great.
And I was on my way to go babysit for someone. This is like maybe the last time I ever babysat.
That's the name of the personal essay, yeah.
Yeah, I was babysitting for a friend, and I'm driving to her house, and I start to feel sick to my stomach, like I'm going to throw up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of me knew it was anxiety, but I just I hadn't really had anxiety manifest that way before. And so I actually pulled over and had to sort of regroup and wait for the nausea to pass, because I started having this terrible I guess intrusive thought that I was gonna throw up in the car, and then I was gonna lose control of the car and cause this huge pile up.
Okay.
You know? I was like, it could happen. And I was actually talking to my friend about that intrusive thought, and she was like, it's possible, it's even plausible. And I was like,
yeah, it's not that
this
unlikely.
is not the person I should be talking to about this. So that's when these sort of, I guess I would call it a panic attack. These panic attacks started, and then had the breakup the next month, and it was very unexpected.
You were you felt about this relationship, it was meteoric and
yes,
just cosmically.
Yeah, I was like, wow, this is what people talk about. This is exactly what everyone always described as
romantic.
When you know, you'll know.
Right.
This is the one. It's so blissful and just, it's a no-brainer. So that relationship ends, and I was so blindsided. I was in just a state of shock, and the relationship only lasted 6 months. And I just kind of was walking around in a daze after that, wondering what happened, and very much blaming myself and feeling like I had not been good enough. So, and I knew that, and I was like, yeah, God, I'm feeling so inadequate, and this is just triggering my core wound of not feeling good enough, not feeling sufficient. And so that's kind of what I've been working with in my own healing, is trying to, tend to that wound of inadequacy. And because of that, I wasn't aware of this other piece, which is maybe the flip side of that, the other side of the coin, which I have been feeling scared to be too much and take up too much space physically and psychically, and really expand. And so you and I are at this party this past weekend, and you came up to me and you said something so sweet, which was, I want you to be as big and expansive as you are. And I know that my behavior doesn't always support that. And that was a light bulb moment for me. I was like, holy shit. Okay, so the other important piece is that I've been having that nausea that I was feeling before and after that breakup in 2019. I've had kind of phases of that. When I have, my anxiety is worse, the nausea is more. But the connection that I was making was, I think what's causing the nausea is more than just anxiety generally, but it's this anxiety of being too much. And so it's manifesting as this physiology of oh God, I'm literally going to throw up. I'm literally going to spill out and burst my banks and really take up space in a very
and like
obvious way,
kind of like re-traumatization of the 2019 experience, right?
Yeah. So that was just so illuminating and clarifying, and I just felt this deep sense of peace, even though I was like, sad about feeling like, oh my God, I'm feeling like I'm not good enough. And I'm also feeling like I'm too much. And this is so hard. It's like, and just feeling sad about the ways that I feel like I was like starting to like really like fold in on myself and start like shrinking.
Which were
even small things, just like kind of constantly like checking in with your energy, over tuning to you, really, really, really not wanting to make you upset, kind of walking on eggshells, even though it wasn't anything that you were doing or saying, but more just this energy.
I mean, I think that might be an overstatement.
Yeah, I think there are things that you did and said.
Because I know my own desire to exert control over myself is kind of like I'm reaching a breaking point with it.
Right. And
it's showing up.
And it's kind of, it's seeping onto me. So, just always kind of like wanting to like explain myself before I did something. I was noticing like even small things, like wanting to tell you like, I'm going to go to the bathroom now because blah, 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 or like just like really like minutia. And then wondering like why the nausea is getting worse. Why I'm feeling constrained and like squished, so that was huge breakthrough for me. And since then, this past week, I've had no nausea. 0.
Yeah. That was a crazy night.
That was a crazy night. That was so fucking crazy.
Like for me, I was getting stressed out by the nausea and anxiety
that I was having.
Well, it was triggering me because of my disordered eating, because you were eating to soothe the nausea.
Yeah, because I was just feeling like
you were attributing
interpretation I had was that this is nausea that's created by hunger. And sometimes I think it really was. But I think more so it was a pathway that had become automated for me, that I'm like, uh-oh, like I might get nauseous again. And then I would like, it was like a
But
nocebo.
You were also like hating eating. You were like, and seemingly maybe because it was stressful, you were eating to try and like curb an ailment.
Yeah. I felt like I had to eat. I was like forcing myself to eat even when I didn't want to, because I was like, this is going to help me avoid the nausea.
And I was getting really stressed out because I have disordered eating in my past. And I was like feeling that you were eating out of fear. And like, I was like, it was just really dysregulating me.
So yeah, what was that? What was that like for you?
Well, it was really stressing me out because I felt like it was triggering my own just like panic around eating for myself. Where I was like taking it on, but I've never had that with someone else.
So you were seeing my panic around eating, and it was making you feel panicked.
My nervous system was like getting really stressed out. Because I was like feeling the anxiety, and I also felt like I was noticing it, but then I was like going down like a shame to a shame place about it, because I was like, well, I have disordered eating, like it's probably just like a function of that I'm feeling this like stress around, like, feeling like you were eating out of stress and like fear. So it was like an observation maybe I wanted to make, but I was like, I don't want to be controlling, and also like she's like a healthy eater, I'm like a disordered eater, I don't know. It was intense. I'm noticing right now that because of where we are in our relationship, where like our wounds are like kind of getting activated or have been, and maybe more so for me, it makes it hard. This is the hardest it's been for me to like see the line between what's my stuff and what's your stuff. You know?
Yeah. Something I'm really appreciating though, and I just want everyone out there to hear this because I think this is such a healthy thing that you're doing, is there are certain things that I'm doing. It could be small things. I don't even know what they are. That are triggering you, and you're noticing the desire coming up that you want to control me and control my behavior and like manage me. And instead of coming to me and saying like, you're doing this and you should stop doing this and blah, blah, and just chasing that impulse, you're going to your therapist with it and you're talking to your therapist with it first. And you may never need to come to me with those things because your therapist is going to help you sort out what's kind of just your thing that you need to work out, which is such a gift to me and to the relationship. And to yourself too, like, you know?
Yeah.
You're giving yourself time to like process it.
Yeah.
Instead of like acting it out on me.
Yeah. That is true.
So thank you. That feels like really caring.
There was an interesting thing that happened around like, this feels connected to me in my mind about like my rigidness and controlling, which like, I just never thought of myself as that.
Really?
No.
Until lately?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because you're like ENFP.
Because I've been more people pleasing with other people in my life,
right,
than with you.
Yeah.
You
had this identity of to yourself of like, kind of like this like floaty, like spacey guy, but like there's this real piece, like internalized piece of like wanting to control that.
Well, yeah. I mean,
with.
Sorry.
That's I had to say.
No, I mean, I just think that's what I learned was like managing people around you is like something that's very familiar to me.
Well, it's like, and how could it not have been internalized? Like that would have been a fucking miracle.
No, it's impossible.
Yeah. Yeah.
We were getting ready to leave, and like within a span of like 5 minutes, you like spilled 2 different things of food.
I thought it was just
or no, one was the drink.
What drink?
You remember in my room, you had a drink in your hand and you like bent over, or you're like leaned over and like the drink spilled onto the carpet. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then a little later we got in the car and you had a plate of like a sandwich.
Yeah.
Like a messy sandwich.
Yeah. Oh, honey, it was like this big, like crummy, crusty baguette. Okay. And then I had like piled skyscraper high, like this fat, plumpy, juicy.
I can barely listen to this.
Sorry. Like scoop of chicken salad. But wait. This wasn't the day of the party.
No, I know.
Oh, okay.
But
this is recently. That was Saturday. Or
no,
Sunday.
but
Sunday.
You said like, I think subconsciously I might be testing you.
Yes. By literally spilling.
Yeah.
Spilling and being sloppy.
Right.
And being a fucking hog. Okay.
What does that mean?
Like a sloppy pig. Okay. In my little pigsty. And seeing like, what's he gonna do? Like, I like have a feeling like he's not gonna like this, but it's like a safer.
What do you think you're looking to get from me? What kind of reassurance?
Well, the reassurance I want is that like you can handle it and you can be like, yeah, like literally that's just called making a mess and being a human being, and I clean up after myself, and like guess what? The world, like the sky didn't fall. But what I sense is like anxiety. A lot of the time. It's like where you're like, oh God.
Yeah.
I get to sense how you're like, something's not right. You know?
Yeah.
And that's sad.
Yeah.
That's such a stressful way to live.
Yeah.
It's so stressful for you. So it's like, When it's stressful for me, I can hold that, wow, this is stressful for me to be around Dan's energy. And like, and I can also have compassion. Like, this is stressful for him. Like, he doesn't want to be this way.
How do you think we should work on it or could work on it?
Like, I think one, maybe while you're trying to sort through this stuff for yourself, like you removing yourself from certain situations, like going and like taking a break. If you see me do something that's like freaking you out. And also then like, like I think compassion towards yourself, like, because you are a human being too, and you make messes and you spill and like break things. And that's been a shame trigger for you, I think. So then like, how can you like tend to that? Those are two things that come to mind.
Yeah, that's helpful. Okay. So we're having fun with checking in on the show Temptation Island. We recognize that probably most people are not watching it with us. But
and we're not fully even watching it. We're just skipping.
we're barely watching it.
Well, we watched episode 1 and now we're checking in on episode 6.
We're feeling stimulated by the show in strange ways. There's stuff in there like about breakups, freedom, like freedom in relationships, toxicity, quote unquote. I don't know. We want to talk about it.
A lot has happened, but we're just going to kind of fill in the blanks for ourselves. Things have gotten so...
We didn't know what we were getting into at all, is what we like, what I took from episode 6.
Yeah. Also like, just like the contestants didn't know what they were getting into, except they kind of do.
I assume all the seasons follow, like this isn't that different from other seasons.
So where we left them was that they had just brought on a bunch of singles onto the show to serve as the temptation to the couples. And now the structure is that the girls who are coupled have their own villa, and the guys who are coupled have their own villa separate. And in the girls' villa, the men singles are there, basically living there.
Yeah.
And then in the guys' villa, the women singles are there.
Other things we didn't know, that like when there was going to be quote unquote infidelity, I don't know if I have to put that in quotes. There's a light. Well, we did know this because they told us in the first episode, but we'll tell you now. There's a light, like a spherical lamp.
It's an IKEA lamp.
Yeah, it's an IKEA lamp.
Yeah.
That turns on when somebody in the other villa is cheating.
Yeah, but they don't know who.
Yeah.
They just know someone. So.
But the light this is the first season they've used the light, and it's looming really large is what we're finding for the contestants.
Yeah.
And we didn't know that like they were going to be shown clips of their partner fooling around. In some cases, I don't know, like
having sex under a blanket,
covered in something, and like rubbing with that guy like rubbing his face on some girl's butt.
I want to ask you, is this the sluttiest of all the reality shows?
Well, I've barely watched them.
I don't know. I just feel like slutty. From what I've seen of like Love Island, Too Hot to Handle,
the one.
Oh yeah, Perfect Match.
Perfect Match.
This one is like you see, it's pretty graphic. Like,
yeah.
So I wonder.
So presumably, like the producers have just like tape of all the contestants having sex.
Yeah. Yeah, there's
from
cameras,
surveillance
in the rooms,
cameras.
And maybe they did this on Too Hot to Handle too, because I don't know. But it's like that really like Paranormal Activity type like footage of like night vision of like in the rooms and like the couples like huddled under this thin blanket, like gyrating wildly. So it's just like it's pretty uncomfortable, and then it's uncomfortable to watch the contestants then you see them as they're watching footage of their significant other cheating on them, which I just feel like is so like unnecessary. But they're like, that's the show. The host is like, it's intense. It's extreme. And I'm like,
hey, Temptation
to
Island's
what
extreme.
end? Like, yeah, they're like kind of framing it as like, this is going to give you the clarity that you need. And it's like,
and you'll know this is actually really like a lie. Then you'll know what you deserve.
Yeah. What?
How that's a leap.
Yeah. It's pretty wild. So it's a very salacious sitchy.
So basically, they've all been shown, every single one of them, it seems like, has been shown, not in all cases like physically cheating, but emotionally cheating or physically cheating.
Yeah, or saying like, I'm not in a relationship with them anymore. We've broken up, even though it's like they haven't actually broken up.
Christopher said he hadn't gotten a boner. Or no, he said he hadn't been turned on by anyone.
No one has gotten my dick hard.
He said that?
Yeah.
Okay.
My dick hasn't been hard in this house this whole time until now.
Until you showed me care
yeah,
to the single he's talking to. But so they've all, and then there's this insane scene of them talking to the host after seeing their partners cheat at Bonfire, is where they all gather to watch this. And in the span of, on the show, I'm sure it was longer when they filmed it, but for our purposes, it's like 30 seconds from them going through like crisis of like grieving and feeling upset after seeing this to being like, okay, like I'm okay.
Yeah. And now I'm going to like go like cheat on them. So there's a lot of like retaliation and like revenge, seemingly.
Yeah. And I think, the thing that was most striking to me in watching this was we watched a lot of conversations of one member of the couple talking to like the person who they're now like, I guess, dating, who's one of the singles. They each have like paired up now with one of the singles and talking about like how, the relationship was messed up and they were so trapped. And it's something that I think is very palpable for people who've been through breakups of like, going through the shock of like the uncoupling, of removing yourself from the relationship and the sense of like abundance you can feel, or like maybe kind of grab onto like a clearing of space and a sense of like, now I can see, and like I actually dodged a bullet, and like this feeling of like, oh, everything's going to be okay now. Like I was so trapped, I was miserable. And that kind of juxtaposed with what we were just talking about of like relationships ideally being like helping you wake up to seeing your own stuff.
Yeah, but I think what we see play out is the part of the relief they seem to be feeling is like, whoo, I won't have to really grapple with my issues. Like, thank God, like now I'm going to escape into the next person. So there's a lot of, whew, thank God that toxic relationship is over. And now thank God that's over. And because I have this new person who's so much better for me, and like, this is clearly the person I should be with. Now I also don't have to do any work of making sense of that toxic relationship that I just came out of.
And they're also in the throes of like this excitement about fucking someone else.
Yeah.
Clearly. They're like really buoyed by it, which I get it.
Yeah, the show is really smart in that way, where it's just like, we're gonna like rip like the Band-Aid, or like, we're gonna like rip you out of
the baby from the bosom,
the baby from the breast. And then don't worry, like here's you're gonna stuff this like binky in your mouth, like, and you're not gonna have to feel the pain of that separation.
Yeah, and like they're seeing in the person they're talking to now what they were lacking.
Right, but they're not seeing anything wrong with
of course,
with the new person, which we've all been there.
But there's this like, what is clearly like not present is then none of them are talking about like what they were bringing to the dynamic.
Right.
at all.
Yeah. They're like, that person just was not the one for me.
Everything is external.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Hall because he's your least favorite. Hall on Temptation Island is, to me, a perfect example of how a man thinking that not sharing his doubts and his real feelings towards the relationship when he has doubts or when things are feeling like they're not working, that he's doing a favor to the relationship when he's actually sabotaging the relationship because his partner has no idea that these things are going on with him. And all of a sudden they're not connecting. And then before you know it, he says what he says, which is, she was never the one. And I could never tell her because I'm such a good guy.
Yeah. And so she's just having to sense that something's wrong and becomes paranoid and basically has to figure out on her own that something is wrong. And
then when it ends, she's really confused.
Yeah. Yeah. So it feels just...
And feels betrayed.
And it feels cowardly to me that it seems like he is avoiding telling the truth to himself about not wanting to be in the relationship with her. And then he's not breaking up with her. And he's avoiding, hurting her, but then he's hurting her way more because it's drawing it out. And then he also gets to kind of avoid breaking up with her directly because she's seeing a video of him saying, I always knew she wasn't right for me. And so then he can kind of like skirt around that difficult conversation.
Yeah. And then meanwhile, he's like the most manic in this post breakup existence, and has already, with one of the singles, has already told her like she's the one actually. So now he's clarity.
Yeah.
Okay. So Christopher is a good example. Like he has a very dark energy around whatever's going on. And he reminds me of people I know who've gone through breakups. And, I'm sure everyone has had a friend like this who like, it's clear that the pain and the grief of the relationship, for this type of person, it's like they have to find something to be angry about as a way to cope. It's like they need to find where the betrayal is and focus on that part of it for whatever reason. He's just like stewing, and it's almost, he keeps saying really like nasty and like kind of abusive sounding, like violent things about Maricela, that it's kind of wild to me that this is on like USA or whatever. Because it's like one of the darkest things I've ever seen.
It's really disturbing watching him kind of unravel. He just seems like so like he's ready to blow.
And
it's scary.
Yeah. He's the one who is the only one who didn't like on tape actually like physically hook up with someone.
He was just like kind of like
the boner.
Yeah, he was just like talking.
And it's clear that that's part of what I think we're talking about, which is like he needs to see himself as the aggrieved, and like that's helpful in some way to like recovering.
Yeah. Ooh, okay. I can't really.
Great show.
I can't continue, but
okay. That's our Temptation Island check-in.
Yeah, we're gonna keep visiting as much as we can tolerate. Every 6 episodes or so, we're gonna check in with them and see how's it going. And that's our show. Thanks for joining us. Our music is by Nightlight. We self-produce this podcast, so please subscribe, rate, and review. It really helps.